Hey there, I'm Krista Vance, entrepreneur and operations leader.
And I'm Matt Vance, award-winning author and social innovation researcher. We're your hosts of the Culture Profit Podcast.
Your place for purposeful company culture strategy.
Learn from HR pros, executives, and thought leaders how to prioritize profits by prioritizing people.
This episode is sponsored by Mobrium, the best friend of forward-thinking HR leaders, helping you strengthen your employer reputation as a reflection of your real culture.
Learn more at mobrium.com. All right, welcome everyone to today's episode on the Culture Profit. The intro today is not rewritten. I'm just going off the cuff here because we've got a special edition episode and it deserves just a more conversational tone. We actually have Zac Crane joining us, who recently joined the Mobrium team as the head of sales. And we actually worked together at a previous company for years. And then we had this incredible opportunity to join forces. The timing of everything lined up. And Zac is actually a veteran for the U.S. military. And we wanted to talk to him about his experience, especially as we're just about to celebrate Veterans Day. So Zac, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Matt and Krista. Good to see you virtually and in person. And a little nervous, but super happy to be here.
Yeah, and for those who don't know Zac, I'm going to share a little bit more about him and his background. So Zac grew up in Boise, Idaho, where sports and service shaped much of his early life. After playing football and serving an LDS mission, he graduated from Utah State University and was commissioned as an Explosive Ordnance Disposal officer in the U.S. Army. This experience taught him how to stay calm under pressure, lead through uncertainty, and solve complex problems quickly. When his time in uniform ended, Zac chose to focus on his family and establish roots back in beautiful Cache Valley. His love of people and problem solving naturally led him into SaaS sales, where he discovered a new passion for helping organizations address real challenges with simple and meaningful solutions. And he's only one semester away from completing his MBA at Utah State University.
Whoop, that's awesome.
That way, so thanks.
Yeah, so Zac, we worked together at a previous company years ago, and I distinctly remember when you announced you were leaving and that you were going from working at this manufacturing business, doing sales, and going into the military. So tell us about how that came to be and why you did that.
Yeah, kind of a crazy story. You should get my wife to tell her side. But so how it all occurred is I had to take a couple steps back. So I got married pretty young right after my LDS mission. And I told my wife, I was like, hey, I'm joining the military. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'm doing it. And she was like, that's awesome, after you graduate college. So I was like, okay, I can do that, I think, right? Books was never my thing. But so because of her, I went to college, which was a good thing, don't get me wrong. Graduated. And then once I graduated, is when I got the job working with you at the manufacturing job. And then there was just something that was eating at me, and I just couldn't really put my finger on it. I was a volunteer firefighter for the city, and I was like, man, I think I'm fulfilling this itch, but I kind of wasn't. So one day I skipped work. I went into the recruiting office here and talked to the Army recruiter. And I went home that night and I said, hey, babe, I'm joining the Army. And she said, I know. And that was just shocking to me. And I was like, what do you mean you know? She's like, I've been feeling that you're going to do this for a long time. So now that you've committed to it, you better do it before I change my mind. So that's kind of the story. And there's a lot more to it. I had a real job, right? I wasn't struggling like you hear some of these people were. Had a great job, loved my job, loved the people, right? It was a great place to be at. But really, it's kind of the cliche thing. I really just wanted to serve, what it comes down to. Had a 3-year-old daughter, had to take out a loan to go to basic training because we had real money and real bills to pay. And when you enlist as an E4 in the Army starting off, it's not a lot of money. So, and then I gradually worked my way up, went to OCS, Officer Candidate School, which is where I earned a commission to become an officer eventually. So,
holy cow.
Wow, that's such a cool story. And props to your wife for being so supportive. That would be a hard one for sure. And you kind of did things, we've talked about this previously since we know you and everything, but just for those listening, that you kind of did things backwards. Like most people, they do the military when they get out of high school, and then they use that to pay for their schooling and everything. And you're like, okay, I've got my degree and I've got a stable job, and now let's go to the military. So.
There's a common theme in my life, truly. I do everything the hardest way possible and the most unconvenient way. It must be a personality trait. It has to be. But yeah, truly, I was grinding through college. I worked full time, was married, halfway through had a kid. I was a volunteer firefighter and going to school full time, right? I was just like doing everything I could to just make ends meet and put food on the table for my little family. And I had these friends at the same time were in ROTC, which I didn't do, but their bills were paid. They had like a good steady income. They're kind of having a good, I wouldn't say the good life, but they did it the right way. So yes, I did it the wrong way. I did everything the hard way, got out, and then joined, having paid for my own degree. But that's not why I joined, right? And I think that was, the passion behind it was more like, I want to serve. Like, it's not about a free college degree, right? Like, I genuinely wanted to go do something different. So,
yeah. And I will say, I attest that I think it is part of your personality, because I can tell you're someone that is not just not going to shy away from a challenge, but that you are one that's like, give me the challenges. I want to push myself. I want to grow. And I'm sure that contributed to your decision to join the military, and very honorable choice to make, but especially for those reasons that you had that itch, that need to serve our country. It's awesome.
I thank you for saying all those things. Yeah, it was a little bit of a sacrifice on my end, but really I got to put a plug in for my wife. Like, she went through the entire process, having known the civilian world and how like good it was. A lot of these military wives, not a lot, but some, right? They only know the military, but my wife knew the other side and then joined and still stuck with me. So like that, like, props off to all the military spouses, I would say, for sticking with them, because I mean, we kind of joke, but it's kind of true. She was a single mom for the better portion of 5.5 years because I just wasn't there. So
yeah, she's amazing too. You guys are both amazing.
It's honestly intense, and I think a lot of us, sometimes we're out of touch with how much sacrifice is made to maintain and preserve our freedoms in the U.S. Like, we were talking about this a little bit earlier in the office, the show Food Tech, which you can find that on Netflix, where
Prime.
Amazon Prime. Sorry, Netflix. But it shows how food is made. Tabasco sauce, hot dogs, like there's all these different foods, and it shows you how much goes into it, the technology and the work of individuals in that industry. And I think a lot of us get removed from where our food comes from. We just eat it. It's like, oh, I want a hamburger.
Store.
Boom, hamburger right there. You go through the drive-through, it's there. And so we take that for advantage, and myself included.
For granted, yeah.
And for granted. And I think the same thing oftentimes happens with the freedoms and liberties we enjoy in this country, that we're removed from the amount of effort, technology, sacrifice, time, resources that are invested from our fellow citizens here in the US and the government. And regardless of what, political persuasion you have, there are real people that are behind protecting our freedoms. And I think that needs to be recognized and honored. So tell us a little bit more about,
your time in the military.
It was like.
And just on your point, like, there are real people. Like, I was in for this much time compared to a lot of people. Some people do 20, 25, 30 years. And when you talk about like sacrifice, genuine sacrifice of an entire lifetime, some of these men and women are putting in, I did not do that. I chose not to do that because I'm not tough enough mentally, but it is what it comes down to. But some people can. So seriously, like, ditto to everything you just said. You said, tell me just a little bit more about
generally what your time was like in the military and how that was for your family.
So let's see. like I said, took an atypical route. So I I enlisted first, which some of your listeners may know what that means, but there's enlisted and officers. Enlisted are they're more the doers, and the officers are more the managers, so you could say. So I enlisted first as an E4, which is just your normal soldier, which was really fun and a great experience because I joined when I was 26. And some of these literal kids were 18 years old. And
Wow.
The drill sergeants were my same age, right? So it's like a weird not power dynamic, but weird dynamic where like we were kind of the same age as the people yelling at me. It's kind of funny. I did basic training. The hottest day of my life was July 31st in Fort Benning, Georgia. I never will forget, I felt sweat dripping down my shins. And I was like, I played a little bit of college football, and I remember thinking, my shins have never sweat before. It was just crazy, like we see on the humidity, and they're like yelling at you, making you do push-ups. It was a good experience. So did basic training in Georgia. Then after that, immediately, like literally walked to what's called OCS, Officer Candidate School. So it's like I went from being an enlisted soldier straight over to the like fast-tracked pipeline to become an officer. So that's essentially you redo basic training all over again with a little bit more leadership and a little bit more like general tactical skills that you would learn. So that was good. And then from there, I went to a BOLIC, Basic Officer Leadership course, which is where you go learn the basic skills of being an officer. Again, it's a lot of planning. It's a lot of public speaking. It's a lot of like creating these PowerPoints because the Army's real big on PowerPoints. And then, right, exactly. And then from there, you'll see this is a lot of training. From there, I went to a specialized training. I was super blessed and lucky to have done well enough on some physical and some academic tests and examinations to qualify for a specialized training, which I really, really wanted to do. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get it or not, but I did that. And then that was a really intense school. It was like a year-long school. You have to, the academic standards are held super high. Like in the Army, like usually the tests are pretty easy. These tests were not easy, just due to the nature of the job. And that was really hard on my family because when I was in that like super rigorous training, my second kid was born. Jack, my son, was born in the middle of that training, which was crazy. And then he was born February 20th, 2020. So right as COVID was hitting. So I was in this super crazy hard training. I had a son who was born. I didn't really tell anybody. And then COVID hit. So I had a newborn and we couldn't find diapers or toilet paper. And I was stressed out about this like crazy training I was in.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I almost got kicked out transparently. Because I failed a test. I had to go to what's called an academic review board where they bring you in, they make you wear your dress blues, and they just grill you. And I remember there was a couple people ahead of me and they came out in tears. And I was like, I'm done. Like, there's no way. Like, I don't know how to explain myself. Like, I'm done with this dream of mine, because to be in this specialized school is like a dream I had. And then I walked in there, and then I think they were expecting me to make excuses. And I just told them exactly why I failed, and I knew exactly what I did. And they kind of like looked at me and they're like, all right, you get one more shot, go back. So that from that point forward, I was not allowed to fail another test. And that was kind of towards the beginning. So every test was super stressful, but made it through. Sorry, that was probably more than you wanted. But from
that tells us a lot. And were you living here at that time, or had you moved?
We had moved, yeah. So we were moving, and I wasn't really there. But while I was at that school, I got a call from where I was going to be going after I graduated, if I graduated. And they said, hey, Lieutenant Crane, hope you're ready. We're deploying within 6 months when you get here, so make sure you're paying attention. Click. And I was like, oh boy, okay.
Oh wow.
So not even fully graduated this training, I got a call saying we're going to deploy when I get there, so I'd be ready. So anyway, get there. And then, sure enough, 6 months later, I was in Iraq, and I barely knew what I was doing in this specialized training, right? I was a new graduate of the training, and I was leading a platoon of men and women overseas in Iraq who were attached to some special groups over there. So yeah, it was just crazy. Like, I can't believe how fast it went and how crazy it was.
That is wild. And amidst all this, your wife is just holding down the fort at home. You're on the front lines. She's holding down the fort.
Yeah. She's quite literally doing everything. I mean, you don't think of the little things, right? She's paying the bills. She's getting groceries. She's getting the mail. She's mowing the lawn. It's like the little things. She's making sure my truck gets started so it works when I get back. It's little things that like I didn't even realize were important till we were in the thick of it. So yeah, she's truly the mom and the dad while I'm gone. So
but it takes a lot of joint efforts to make all of that happen from a family perspective, which is amazing that you guys did all of that. So I am curious, Zac. So you were in the military for this time. You did a lot of really cool things. You got to tell us at least like one crazy story. Obviously, nothing top secret. But then I want to hear how it was transitioning back to civilian work, because I'm sure there are a lot of veterans listening that are going through that experience, as well as companies looking at hiring veterans, and maybe there are some stigmas around that of like, oh, well, they don't have experience in this work. So, like, what is that like navigating that like?
Yeah. So one crazy story that comes to mind, we were overseas in the Middle East, right? Doing whatever we do. And it was me and my teammate, my partner, whatever. I don't know what the civilians equivalent would call it, but we were in a little Toyota Hilux, just the two of us. When I was over there, it's not what you imagine. Like, it was crazy early 2000s. It's not like that crazy right now. So never want to like inflate what I did. So it was just me and him. And we were on this road, and our interpreter, or a linguist, sorry. We were on this road in Iraq, and we were driving down it. And this other vehicle had a bunch of dudes in the back, and we're on the freeway, and they had their guns and, looked like maybe what you would think a scary person would look like. And they drive in front of us. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. And I asked my linguist, I was like, are these good guys or bad guys? And I'll never forget. He said, today, good guy, tomorrow, maybe bad guy. And, I've always thought about that. And then the linguist, he explained to me, because I was kind of ignorant. He was like, hey, they see you as another tribe. Like, they don't necessarily see you as the enemy, like right now, right? Maybe you're good with them right now, but maybe next month there'll be a tribal conflict and then you're fighting against each other. So it's just interesting, the concept of just like tribes, and how he made it seem like you're not always enemies, right? You can be friends and then not friends. So
interesting.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Yeah, very eye-opening for me too.
Yeah, I'm sure you had lots of cultural experiences everywhere you went. I mean, so that's really neat.
For sure. And then the other question was segueing from that back to the real world.
Yeah, just like why you got into sales and what it's like.
And I'm curious, like, I mean, do you feel like you experienced trauma, and how's that affected you?
That's a good question.
Getting back into it, because I think that would be maybe the stigma that employers might have of hiring a veteran. I mean, I'm sure they think these guys are really tough, these women are really tough, but they might be carrying some trauma from the experiences that they've had. And so what's something you've done to navigate that? And how did you ease yourself back into the real world of like just going to a job and, so.
Yeah, for sure. So again, I know brave men and women who have experienced actual trauma. I wouldn't say I've experienced like true trauma. Like I know some literal heroes, like is what I'm saying. I wouldn't say I have that. I would say one thing that was hard was I was trained or maybe conditioned to just think about worst case scenario all the time, what you're doing, always be on the lookout, right? Always be looking over your shoulder. So that is still, I would say, I've been out a couple of years, is still kind of hard, right? To shake that. Like when I'm going out to dinner with my family and we're sitting down, do I need to always be, is it even healthy mentally to be thinking about like, what's the worst possible situation here? Like, I don't think that's healthy. So I would say I still have a little bit of that, but not probably the trauma that maybe some people would expect, right? Like I said, when I was overseas, it wasn't when it was like high op tempo. So, yeah. And then when it comes to like transitioning back and why I chose sales, it's kind of a loaded question, but let's see why I chose sales. I always tell people like sales was my game plan. It wasn't a backup plan. I think a lot of people view salesmen kind of like gross, which there's a lot of gross salesmen out there. But I chose it because I mean there's a couple reasons. It's hard, right? Going back to the beginning, I do like doing hard things because when you accomplish it, there's nothing better than being successful at something, right? So you have like little micro successes in sales, which would be closing a deal or helping someone save a pain point. So that's fun. I genuinely like talking to people. Like I really do. I love talking and meeting new people and seeing where they're from and what their problems are. And then I do like helping them find a solution to a problem, right? Matt, you've been on calls with me. Like I'll tell people sometimes at the beginning, like, I'm not sure if this is right for you, but by the end of the call, we'll know, and I'll tell you if we should move forward or not, right? So having that consultative, like, if we can help you, great. If not, let's be friends, and I'll talk to you when the timing's better. So yeah, that's why I like sales right now. It's been a lot of fun.
That's
yeah, you're
awesome.
kind of I heard it. This is kind of a side note, but when we first got married, we moved to California and did summer sales, pest control.
Door to door.
Yeah, and I don't know why this just brought me back to that, but we were doing a training and one of the top salesmen, he was like just the most kind, genuine person. And he said, I always just try to approach it like a doctor and just like, do you have bug problems? How can I help, with those bug problems? And so I think that's kind of that consultative role that you take on. And I think you're a very genuine person that cares about people and helping them find solutions to the things that they're struggling with. So
yes, for sure. And yeah, that's a great example, like being like a doctor almost, asking questions and how to diagnose it. You also mentioned, Krista, like people view military people as super strong, scary guys. The funniest, most down-to-earth people that like I've ever met were some of like the most hardcore guys you might meet in the military. Like they have these personalities where, and again, I wasn't part of that era. Like it just wasn't the op tempo that I experienced. But like there are some people who you would meet them like ready to go. You'd be like, ooh, you're smart. But then if you like had lunch or dinner with their family, you'd be like, this is the coolest guy I've ever met. He's super funny. Like I think to do some of those things, you have to just be able to laugh a lot, especially at yourself. And
it counteracts the hard a little bit.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You've got to be able to be comfortable in your own skin, but be ready to go when it's game time. And
exactly.
Yeah, I think that's a very important skill to have. And yeah, really cool. That I think it's really cool of you. This wasn't kind of planned, but how you created a group on Facebook for veterans to just connect and find shared experiences and just have that camaraderie. I think that's also something that's really cool that you've done. So.
Has that been a helpful thing for you? And does it seem like it's been helpful for those who've connected on there?
Yeah, like I've kind of alluded to a couple times, like I don't feel like I have a ton of these like issues or problems that maybe some companies attach or stigmatize veterans, right? But I do know that exists, and I do know people that struggle a lot. And so when I moved back here, I kind of looked for like little veterans groups just to like see if I could volunteer somewhere or do something, and they're kind of a lot. So made this group for the Valley, and it kind of blew up. I was shocked at how many veterans live in our little country town, but it's been super cool. There's no, like, I tell the group, like, there's no rules and there's no like initiative here. Like meet people, go fishing, say who wants to meet us here and go work out. We go to dinner every once in a while. So yeah, just little things like that. Because I think the shared experiences sometimes, I mean, we have Vietnam veterans in the group. So it's fun to talk to them.
Wow.
These are way different than anything that I've experienced, right?
Yeah.
So I think for even the older generation, just having younger people to talk to, and people who I wouldn't say understand, but they get the lingo, they understand generally what it was like. I think it's fun for them too.
And I would think when you join the Army, you're part of this community, this group. Like, I don't know if it's almost family-like, but it's a shared experience. And then you come back and you're just like, I don't know, it probably feels like you kind of just leave that behind. And I would think that'd be kind of hard to not still feel like you're in that inclusive community that's like your family. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it is hard. So like to go to work in the Army, right? I hardly even considered it work, so it was fun. But to go to work, to be around men and women who would literally die for you, right? Literally, they would. Is a pretty unique experience, right? To be surrounded. I mean, you could maybe not even get along or even like them, but if it came down to it, they would give their life for you. That's just part of the job. So like you will never find that outside of the military or maybe like law enforcement and fire. So to have that core system and essentially that's like on a thread and you snip it and it's completely gone. Because, right, they're still your friends, but typically when you get out, you move away. So you're geographically separated again. And then your military friends, they have a mission. They're planning and they're preparing and like they still care about you, but their life doesn't stop just because you got out. They still have to do all the things. So again, I was lucky when I got out. I was married. I had 2 kids, wife and kids that loved me. So I think that made that portion less significant, but it was still hard. To this day, it's still hard to like have good friends, right? Because it's a different kind of bond and friendship for sure.
Yeah, I could only imagine. I had another friend who recently retired from the police force, and he shared a little bit of a similar sentiment where you're in the thick of everything, you know what's going on, you're listening to the police blotter, and you're staying connected with everything, and then boop, you're out, and now you're maybe you can still listen in on the public police blotter, but you're not involved in anything, and you don't have access to know the details of stuff, and it's a disconnect. But I think having that shared group is a great way to have that connection. And,
I think that's probably a great piece of advice that we'd want to give to all you veterans who are listening. Or those who may know somebody, but go check out some Facebook groups, because that's a great way to have that. Yeah,
or your area, like Zac.
Yeah, and again, like I do preface it. My situation is unique, like with my family and marriage and kids. But I can't imagine, to be frank, to be 20 years old and make the decision to get out, not having any of that. Like I said, I didn't feel like the lost soul who was struggling like deeply, but I do see how people are. Like 100%, I get that. And I try to be really cognizant, and the people I was over, like I try and text them and ask how they're doing, phone calls, because I really want to help anyone who I was especially close with, like make a smooth transition out. Because without that, I mean, some of them come from rough backgrounds too. So maybe even their parents or family can't or aren't there for them. So they really do need that support. So
that's a really good point. So on the work side, companies, how would you say that a company should support veterans in the workplace?
Right. We don't need any sort of special treatment, right? I'm not going to do anyone a disservice by saying, oh, you need to do this or that, but maybe some things to be aware of, right? Like, I would say veterans are amazing hires. Mostly, there's exceptions. And if you're a veteran, you're probably lacking right now. But we're really task-oriented and goal-driven. So if there's a goal that a team or an organization is working towards, if you just tell them like, hey, the end state, or we want this, we want X, Y, and Z to be like the end goal, they will stop at nothing to accomplish that goal. Like they're very goal-driven. And typically, if you do hire, especially like a younger veteran, they have been given roles and responsibilities in the military that are 20 levels above their expertise. Like I had 20-something-year-old E5s or E6s in the Army briefing generals overseas on and giving them courses of action and recommendations on ways to do certain things. So you don't get that in the civilian world. You would never have an intern go give a presentation to a CEO, because that'd be the equivalent, right? You would never have that. So they really are comfortable being given hard tasks too. Something that was hard for me personally when I got back was leadership styles. I was very used and comfortable to a very specific leadership style, where they would say, "Hey, Zach, you will do this. There's not an option to do anything differently, and it will be perfect." Right? So that was just what I, you know, so to go and have other leaders who were like, "Oh, figure it out. Like, you'll be okay." Like, at first I was like, "What do you mean figure it out? Like, just do it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Well, when does it have to be done?" "Oh, sometimes in Q3. So like kind of, I would have appreciated a little more like direct.
Concrete. You want the concrete, yeah.
Right. And then like I learned to get creative. It took some time, but now I wouldn't appreciate that as much. But yeah, those are some things.
Very interesting. Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, given the kind of command style leadership, that totally makes sense. Would you is there any advice you would give to a veteran about navigating the labor market if they're looking for a job?
Yeah. I'm going to be hyperbolic here. It's going to hurt some feelings if you're a veteran. But I always tell people, nobody cares about your service. And that's not true. We know that's not true, but I'm trying to drive a point, right? Like, people care and they appreciate and they value what you did and the sacrifices you and your family made. Across the board, I've never had someone say, "I don't appreciate you for doing that." But truly, a lot of the skills that I, at least I can speak for me, personally learned, they were not directly transferable to the civilian workforce, right? Sure, I learned leadership styles, I learned how to communicate, I learned how to like work under pressure, but I didn't learn formulas in Excel, right? And I didn't learn how to like sales techniques and sales strategies. I didn't learn these things that these organizations are looking for when they're hiring, right? So if I was to give advice to veterans, is if you know you're getting out or you're planning on getting out, there's programs in the Army and I can help you with these, but keep up on your education, right? I always told my soldiers, like, the Army will pay for you while you're in to get a college degree. Take a college course this semester. It's not hard, right? So always keep maintaining your education. Even like, especially if it's just like a stepping stone, right? If you're going to get out, do that. Take courses, right? Take leadership courses, take some project management classes. There's all sorts of things you can enroll in. Like, concurrently, you're doing your military training and your academic training, and they're only going to help each other while you're in, and it's truly going to set you up for success when you get out. Because the more, again, like I said, people do appreciate your service. So I'm not going to say they don't actually care, or but yeah, there's people right now who, if you're in the military and they're working their way up the corporate ladder, they're going to be ahead of you, right? If you're not doing something on your own. So that's some advice I would give. And then I would also say, don't be afraid to jump out. If the military is the only thing you've known, do not be afraid to make the leap, because you can do it. You can be successful. And you may take half a step back for a year or two, transparently, but your skills and your knowledge and your leadership abilities are going to propel you forward faster in the long term.
And I think that's great advice, even for those who are not veterans, to just always keep learning, always doing learning on your own. That's not just like, give me information from my direct report or whatever, right? So we're always learning, always trying to gain our own skills, and doing that helps you figure out what you really want to do. So
yeah, most definitely. And another piece of advice, they don't swear as much in the civilian world. So for me, it was when I remember I went back to my first civilian job getting out, I was like, "Oh my gosh, no one's swearing. This is crazy." It's like, but it's not as much. So just be prepared for that.
There you go. That's a social norm.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean, though. I mean, so my brother-in-law he served in the military as well, and I feel like he's such a hard worker, so determined. He does sacrifice a little, maybe a little too much, like a little self-sacrificing, but as a company hiring him and you and just, I think of everything that you had to do just to be trained, you made it through that, which shows great determination, great grit. And so I think they would be great hires for sure.
Mhm.
So thank you for all of your advice and all that you shared. And was there any final things you wanted to add, Zac?
No, I mean, well, maybe one thing, like if you're watching this and you're in the military, you're a veteran and you're like confused on what to do, or maybe you're afraid, you're going to be okay, right? You're going to figure it out. Someone's going to want to hire you and you're going to find a right way to crush it. So go get it.
I love that. Yeah. Go get it.
It's awesome.
To all of our veterans and active duty, seriously, thank you for what you do, and all of our
Zac.
law enforcement, first responders. I mean, we have some incredible people doing amazing work in this country. And on a personal note, it's so awesome working with you, Zac, at the Mobrium team, and we're honored
we can
to have
attest
you.
to that veterans
with
are
the
good
team.
hires. We can definitely attest to that.
So anybody that wants to learn about reviews, Zac's your guy. Definitely connect with him on LinkedIn. He's awesome at what he does, and we're not pushy. We love to just connect, and
he's very entertaining on LinkedIn too. So you should definitely follow him.
Yeah, people better start a LinkedIn account because it'll be good for your career too.
That's true. That's really good piece of
Totally.
advice. But thank you again for joining us today, and for everyone listening. Make sure to follow the Culture Prophet, leave a review. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks for tuning in to the Culture Prophet podcast, and for being a part of our journey to prove that putting people first is best for business.
Today's episode was sponsored by Mobrium.
Want to get more employee reviews and streamline your employer reputation? Visit Mobrium.com.
Now go find one way to prioritize your people and watch your profits grow.